Today we're going to be looking at Good Die Young in the color X Girl. My swatches are labeled 1 through 12, but that is not synonymous with hair levels. I do different pictures and clips and such near the end of the video, so the numbers just help us keep track of each swatch. My swatches are human hair swatches, but the only swatch that is virgin hair is going to be the number 4 black swatch. The rest have been chemically colored or bleached at some point in their existence. 1 is green. I get a lot of requests when I do pinks and purples to use green hair, so that's what that is. 2 is gray. 3 is a natural red. Once again, 4 is black. And then 4 to 11 is a range that goes to platinum blonde. And then number 12 is a toned version of number 11. So to start, I will take the dye directly from the container and I will be applying it at the top of each swatch. And then some people do like to dilute their dyes, so I will do a diluted version at the bottom of each swatch. Please keep in mind everyone's hair is different, which means everyone's hair will take color differently. Plus, different screens and monitors can make colors look different as well. So please just use my video as a reference for how this could possibly turn out for you.
Adore me. I can feel love from miles away. And the light in your eyes tells me stories of life in a more perfect place where I wanna stay. It's easier to love when it's you by my side, shining through the cracks like the first morning light, feeling like a child.
For the diluted section, we're going to do a 1:4 ratio. So that is 1 part of our dye to 4 parts diluter. If you're confused about what diluter is, I always just give a really quick, easy answer, is that it lightens the color of your semi-permanent dye. Each brand usually will sell a diluter that you can use to mix with your color if that makes you feel more comfortable. But to keep things more fair between brands, I always just use a plain white conditioner for diluting.
'Cause baby, in your absence, life is boring, so I'll never leave. It's easier to love. Oh, oh. It's easier to love. Oh, oh. Easier to love. Oh, oh. Easier to love.
So I really want the hair to take the color and I want it to fully absorb. So I'm gonna let them sit for 3 hours. I will then rinse them out, and when they're dry, I will meet you back here and we'll do some comparisons. So in regular house lighting, I guess you would say, this actually doesn't look quite as bright as it does under this lighting. I mean, it definitely looks bright, but under this LED ring light that I'm using, it looks even like more neon. If you are curious as to whether or not this is a UV reactive dye, I will do that later in the video. So this is also quite pigmented, if you couldn't tell. I can see a difference on number 5 even. So the only one I don't see a difference on is the number 4 black swatch. I just want to say that if you have anything darker than a blonde, your results are more likely to vary, especially if you have virgin hair. Virgin hair tends to be more resistant to taking color versus like already colored or bleached hair, just as a warning. So number 1 was originally green, And the green in the hair definitely helped to cool the dye down and also mute it down a bit as well. So it looks like it leans a lot more purple over the green swatch and definitely not as bright. Number 2 was originally gray, and that also seemed to have cooled it down quite a bit. Especially when you look at the blonder swatches, it like almost looks magenta-y. But I'm kind of thinking that the gray maybe leaned a little bit more like a blue gray, because looking at even the number 12 swatch, which was toned, that doesn't even look as cool toned as this. So I'm thinking if you have more of a natural gray, your results would probably be maybe somewhere in between the 2 and the 12. 3 was the natural red. I can't totally tell if I see a difference on the bottom. I think I do, but because the hair was already red beforehand, it's a little bit hard to tell. I definitely see a difference on the top, and it kind of looks like it should be between 5 and 6. And looking at 6, I'm thinking that the red undertones didn't play a huge role in how the pink looks over the hair. But regardless, I do really like how it looks. It's very pretty, and it kind of just like still looks natural, but also kind of unnatural. Could be a good option if you're looking for something that doesn't stand out too much. So obviously once you get to number 6 and onward, it definitely looks very pink. The 5, like I said, I do see a slight difference on the top, but it still looks like a brown with a like warmer undertone. And the diluted section also did dye the bottom of number 6, but I feel like it doesn't look as pigmented until you get to number 10 and over. Still very pretty on 7, 8, 9 as well, but same thing as before. Do a strand test if your hair is not platinum blonde, even if it is platinum blonde, just to make sure you get the result that you are looking for. So I have a lot of pinks in my collection, but actually none of them are quite like this. Like I said, this isn't necessarily a neon pink, so it doesn't really perfectly match a lot of my other neon pinks. It's not a super warm pink, but it's not a super cool toned pink either. So I think that's pretty fun. Obviously, when I do my comparisons, I do try to find the most similar pinks in my collection. So I chose the more cool toned of the most similar and the more warm toned, which isn't even that warm toned. It's still pretty cool toned, but so we're going to start with Strawberry Leopard in the color Euphoric Pink. This is comparable to number 12, number 11, number 10, and number 9. So Euphoric Pink is also not technically like a neon, but in this direct lighting can look very bright, but clearly not as bright as the X Girl. The X Girl definitely still kind of has a neon quality, at least in person. So if we kept going in this direction, where we went less bright, the next in line would be Arctic Fox's Virgin Pink, because that one is kind of similar to the undertones of Euphoric Pink. It's a slightly more cool tone pink. I mean, maybe it's kind of like the mix of these two, but regardless, it's definitely not as bright as both of these, which in turn makes it look a little bit darker as well. I think because the Euphoric Pink is a little bit more cool toned, it doesn't look as intense either on the 9 and 10 compared to the X Girl. The X Girl still carries a bit of that brightness into the 9 and 10, and I've noticed that warm tones tend to dye darker colors a little bit easier for the most part, so that could also play a role as to why the Euphoric Pink looks the way it does on the 9 and 10 versus the X Girl. So our next comparison should look a lot more similar, and that is Manic Panic in the color Hot Hot Pink. This is comparable to number 12, number 11, number 10, and number 9. So Hot Hot Pink is marketed as a like bright neon pink. So once again, you can see that here now in comparison to X Girl, and hopefully you can also see what I mean when I say that the X Girl isn't necessarily supposed to be a neon pink, but it is very bright. So in normal natural house lighting, the Hot Hot Pink is the most similar that I have, but clearly under this lighting, the Hot Hot Pink does still lean warmer and again brighter. By the way, if you're wondering, I used to do 2 separate diluted parts on my swatches, so this is a different part from this, and that's why it gets lighter on the ends. But even when you compare the diluted sections, of course the Hot Hot Pink still looks more warm and brighter. When I was applying the X Girl to the hair, one of the things I was thinking was that it is quite a cool toned pink, but after seeing it compared to something like the Euphoric Pink, I can see now that it still does have some warmth to it. So someone might consider this like a true pink, but with things like pink, it's a little bit harder to determine what's like a true neutral pink, if that even exists. But you can see just how possible it is to get a cooler tone pink with this dye. So if your hair does tend to lean warm, maybe something like this would give you the color that you're looking for without it going too warm. Okay, so now I wanted to look at this under a black light. All right, switch to a switch to a black background so that we can see the neon better on camera, because my camera can have a hard time with the white background. So this is definitely a UV reactive dye. Basically, the darker these swatches get, the less neon they look. So there's a couple strands in the number 4 that are maybe lighting up a little. Same with number 5. But the lighter the hair underneath will give you a better UV reaction. It generally leans pretty warm under the light. Even the number 2 swatch, which looked quite purpley pink, and the number 1 too. Actually, that one looks even more warm in comparison to the number 2. And even the diluted sections light up, but once again, same thing as before. The lighter the hair underneath, the better it will reflect under a black light. And we are back to a white background, but not for long, because I do want to look at these before and after clips now. And just so you know, I do film the before and after clips, as well as anything else you see past this point in the video, with natural lighting.
Your smile in the morning, following the linings on your cheeks. 'Cause baby, in your absence life is boring, so I'll never leave. It's easier to love when it's you by my side, shining through the cracks like the first morning light, feeling like a child through the days and the nights, living in your arms as years go by. It's easier to love, oh, easier to love, oh. It's nothing like the way that you adore me. I can feel love from miles away. In your eyes tells me stories of life in a more perfect place where I wanna stay. It's easier to love when it's you by my side, shining through the cracks like the first morning light, feeling like a child through the days and the nights, living in your arms as years go by. It's easier. Smile in the morning, following the linings on your cheeks. 'Cause baby, in your absence life is boring, so I'll never leave. It's easier to love, oh. It's easier to love, oh. Easier to
I hope my video helped. If you have a request, I do have a link below to a Google form you can fill out. Just remember, I only do brands that do not test on animals. Thank you so much to my patrons, and thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.